In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Moon Tea Podcast. Today we have Diana Wang, and we have an intro. Diana is a yoga enthusiast, enjoys building community around cooking, is also a consultant and researcher in aging and psychology. She is Chinese American and moved to New York City a year ago after being in LA for about 8 years. I guess technically somewhere in Brooklyn, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, we should call her Dr. Diana because she has a PhD. So
I prefer Princess Diana, actually. That's my go-to line.
Dr. Princess, Her Highness Diana Wang.
Kidding. Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, that's a better angle. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
And how did you end up here? Like
here, right in this moment?
Yeah, how did this happen? What is the story?
So I met another guest on your guys' podcast, Jackie Tran, who is, from what I gather, one of Hugh's close friends from a while back, maybe high school? And then I met John at a birthday party or something like that of Jackie's. Yeah, just like maybe 2 months ago. We started talking and had some great conversations. And then John was like, by the way, I have a podcast about you guys. So here I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
So cool. Welcome.
Yay.
Let's see. What else? I feel like at the party we were talking about like what you like to do and then your research, and then there was a point where I was like, dude, I think Diana is overqualified to be on the podcast.
Oh my god.
It will be an honor to have her on.
You're flattering me.
But yeah, do you mind talking a little bit about your background, like what you're into, not just work stuff, but then like your dreams and aspirations, like what you're into. Also, fun fact, Diana saves lives. So she you can tell that story as well.
Sure. No, I just realized, okay, so we're starting on a very big tangent already, but John actually lives very close to Manhattan's Wild Bird Fund, which is a bird sanctuary that takes in injured and orphaned birds that you might just like find around. And so this Sunday, just like a few days ago, I was with a friend and we were about to go biking, and we walked into her garage and found this little bird, like a sparrow, stuck on a glue mouse trap. And so she and I like took it and basically like released it from the trap with the help, but we like went to a vet. And then in order to like truly rehabilitate it, we brought it to this Wild Bird Fund. And so I was, since I was here, I was like, oh, I'm going to go stop by and see how it's doing. And they just told me like half an hour ago that they released it because it can now fly on its own and eat on its own. And it's just chilling in Central Park. So it made my day. It was like very cool. He lives like literally around the block from this place. And but it was it was a whole like fiasco when we found it. It was very scary because it was super freaked out little bird, and like a bunch of its feathers were broken and like torn off on the trap. And I don't know, I guess I also just like learned a lot about like how harrowing it is to have glue traps that other animals can get stuck on. So like we were like reading a little bit about just the ethics of having mouse glue traps.
Ooh.
Yeah, didn't know about that. But anyway, so that's that was like a strange thing that happened over the weekend, but not the biggest part of my identity. But yeah, so as for my background, I guess, I can start with just like basic, education and all that. In undergrad, I studied biology and neuroscience, but always had this interest in aging and like older adults. In high school, I'd worked in a nursing home. When I was a kid, I was partly raised by my grandparents. And so I just kind of had this affinity to like older people, and at some point was like, oh, maybe if I want to make an impact somewhere, it would be on this population. So throughout undergrad, I got into doing like psychophysiology research, so like health psychology research, understanding the ways that stress and other psychological and social factors influence the aging process. So yeah, it was very cool, and I got very into research. I kind of fell into this lab that became like a surrogate family. Like everyone was just like, all these grad students kind of took me under their wing and like taught me how to do independent research, come up with cool question to answer and like find the right methodology for it. Got to travel to some cool conferences and like network with researchers from all over the world. And so it just kind of really inspired me to like continue on this research path without actually really thinking too deeply about like, okay, what do I actually want to do with it? Like I wasn't really honed in on like, oh, I need to be a professor at a university doing research, but I was just like really passionate about answering these questions and being in the lab and like mastering techniques. And it was so cool. So then that brought me to grad school, which brought me to LA. So I ended up doing actually at this like turning point, I was applying to grad schools all over. I was like going for a master's of public health programs. It's focused on aging, as well as PhD programs, and just ended up getting into this one at USC, the Davis School of Gerontology. So seemed like it was a great way for me to get this like breadth of knowledge and training on all different aspects of aging, like policy, demographics, biology, sociology, psychology of aging. So went for that. And then there was a faculty member there who I really liked, and I got to work with her and like deepen my skill set and like statistical methods. And so, yeah, kind of went there, did grad school for 5 years, and then went to a postdoc also at USC, where I did a little bit more on measurement methods. So the use of survey methodology and like the analysis of continuous physiological data that you can get from, say, wearables, for example. So it's like either if you're pinged and you have to answer a survey question throughout the day about how your symptoms are, or just like continuous heart rate monitoring, things like that you can get from your Garmin watch or Fitbit, etc. So yeah, that's I'll pause there. Yeah, that's kind of just my background up until like last year. Yeah. Now I'm a consultant, so I definitely jumped ship and left academia. That was like a whole tough decision that I had to think through a lot about, but now I get to do consulting within industry for pharmaceutical companies and biotech and sometimes wearable companies. So yeah, it's been quite a ride, has its ups and downs, both. So yeah.
You're incredible.
Stop. I just, I don't know. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Where do we even start? There's so many possible questions, Sean. Oh my goodness. He was also thinking, oh, she is overqualified.
No, there's no such thing as overqualified, right?
It's like we're just kidding. We're just kidding.
I mean, being in academia, you actually perpetually feel underqualified because you end up like getting a lot of depth in one small area, and then you are so acutely aware of everything you don't know about it, or like the world doesn't know about it, or what you personally don't know to that depth of everything else. So there's like some serious strong imposter syndrome sometimes where I feel often underqualified.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's not unique to academia.
Okay.
That happens for anyone in any job, except for Hugh. Hugh, by the way, is a director of design at his company.
Okay, cool.
Dude, this guy just makes it look easy.
Ah.
Great.
That's cool.
Stresses every day. That's funny. Yeah, but anywho, yeah, who knows? I don't even know. But really, I'm kind of curious on following up with a question of, I was reading, we had this Google form and there's your background of it and everything that you've done. And you were saying you did research on social relationships, stress, and breathing techniques.
Yeah, separate. Yeah. I can tell you a little bit about each of the questions broadly. So the bulk of my research for my dissertation was all around understanding how the giving of support is actually potentially beneficial for the giver. In health psychology, the field of health psychology, it's generally pretty well understood that there's like all these like models and like frameworks around when you receive support from others, generally it makes you feel better. It like buffers your stress. So it's good. Generally, it's a good thing, unless, for example, it makes you feel like
dependent.
Yeah, or like infantilized or something like that. But yeah, then my advisor and I, our whole lab really wanted to understand, especially within older adults, does the giving of support actually confer any benefits? And so we got to looking at that question with a lot of different, from a lot of different perspectives, using a lot of different methods. And so, yeah, we did find a couple of cool things. One that, generally speaking, reciprocity is very important. So yes, giving is good for your psychological well-being, your levels of, reduces potentially your levels of stress, depression, anxiety, increases positive affect or like happiness. But it's only good really in the context of a reciprocal feeling relationship. And so that's actually something that, we found in a pretty representative sample of Americans, and a lot of them. I don't remember what the sample size was, but it was just like a lot of people. And yeah, I think I try to like apply that to my own life. I really like doing that with research that I read or stuff that I've been involved in. And so that's one of the things. So listeners out there, give to your friends freely and to your relationships. It's good for your health and it's good for your well-being, but also do so in a way that's makes you feel like it's a fair give and take. So yeah. Some other things that I did in the middle of my program, my advisor that I started with, she actually left USC, which is like caused a whole set of challenges. But on the bright side, I got to be adopted by another faculty member. And so I kind of joined her lab, finished out the other projects. But then since she was starting up this whole series of this like meditation breathing technique intervention, I kind of like backpacked onto that and like had a little section of it that was mine. And so this is actually still in the process of being published. Like it's currently undergoing rounds of revisions. And one of the lab members that I worked with, she's still taking the lead on like resubmitting to the journals and addressing all of the reviewers' comments. And like it's such a long process. This has been going on for at least 4 years now. So it kind of gives you an idea of how slow and long the academic research process can be sometimes for something to go from like data collection all the way to publication and hearing about it in the media, things like that. But
we're bringing the latest content on the MT podcast.
Yeah, this is cutting edge, pre-published, pre-peer reviewed stuff I'm telling you about. But Yeah, I'll loosely, I'll from a high level explain this breathing technique that we focused on. It's called heart rate variability biofeedback. And so, yeah, without getting like way too technical, it's basically if you breathe in a certain frequency, if you breathe a certain number of breaths per minute, it actually regulates your autonomic nervous system in a way that kind of is just good for you. So one thing I like to bring up is that do you guys think that your heart rate is like constant? Like it's like a metronome? Like
No.
beat, beat, beat. No. Okay. Do you think this because you have experienced like variations in it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah. So I used to think that your heart rate was just like kind of constant. But we know that actually it varies with every breath that you take. And so, in fact, with every inhale, your heart rate increases. And with every exhale, your heart rate decreases. And like there's a reason for that. It's like there's something, you have like the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And these two branches are kind of always like in a dance with each other to regulate your heart rate. One is the kind of the branch that speeds up your heart rate. One is the one that slows it down, and breathing regulates it. And so, yeah.
Have you heard of Wim Hof?
Yeah. Yeah, I've tried it once.
Oh, you've only tried it once?
Yeah,
I just assumed you're like, oh yeah, we're buds. Like we
I
do
wish.
breath work all the time.
Oh my God, that'd be so cool. No, I remember my lab mates and I would like talk about his method, but I think he's definitely tapping into a lot of these like processes. For Wim Hof, I remember only doing it where you like hold your breath and then do a bunch of push-ups or something. But yeah, cool stuff. You can do a lot with your breath. If you can control your breath, people say like you can control your mind. And basically this is kind of I buy it. I like we've all experienced it.
Yeah, I've had the experience where I take an extremely cold shower, but I'm just fully in control of my breath. And I'm like there's like cold water coming on me, and I just like observe the cold water on my skin, but it doesn't change my breathing. And so I'm just like, and as it's like ice cold water, and I'm just like, I'm like not shivering at all.
Wow.
Wow. I did that for fun in the UK, because one would be like deathly hot, and then the other one would be like ice cold, and I was like, I'll just try the ice cold and like just train myself to do it.
Oh my God. How long did it take you? How many times did it take you to get to the point of really controlling?
A few weeks.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, one time I remember I went to the shower, and my housemates were like laughing, and then I shower and I come back, and they're like, oh, you're okay? And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, the hot water is broken.
Oh my God.
And then I was like, oh, I take cold showers anyways. And then they were just like, what the fuck?
Wow. Do you still do that now?
Oh, I wish showers could be cold enough. The worst thing, like my future home will have, you know how the shower nozzle, it just has one thing. And then if you want it hot, you go all the way. But if you want it cold, if you want it really cold, then like there's not that much water that comes out because it's only one. So my future home will have more than one like big nozzle. Like I'll have a hot and cold.
Okay.
Like, it's the worst thing, and I see it everywhere. So
wow. I should try that. Don't they say like, take a cold shower, it like trains you to do things that are uncomfortable, right?
Oh, that's
a
yeah.
good way.
This is stuff I heard like after the fact.
Okay.
I did it for fun.
Admirable. Wow.
Quick question to John. When you did that, would you just would you step in slowly but surely, or would you just be there and then have it just go?
Rip off a Band-Aid.
Yeah, so so traditionally it's like, you know, you want to like jump in so that you get used to it all at once.
Mm-hmm.
But that it became too easy to jump in. And so what I would do is I would like if it was like a cold pool, because it was harder, I would like slowly walk into the water.
Classic John. Good. Classic. Would expect nothing less. That's too funny.
But this is not the John Kim cold shower podcast.
I know. I was gonna transition right there. So back to Diana.
You're good. No.
Great try, Diana. Great try.
Happy to.
I'm kind of curious.
Diverge.
You said it was not peer reviewed yet, and the findings haven't been released, most likely. But is there anything that kind of has been, you know, more or less? What's the conclusion for some of the breathing techniques, or what are some optimized forms of breathing techniques that you all have found to be helpful? Like, what's the heart rate? Oh, sorry, the breathing rate per minute or something?
Yeah, sure. So it's 6 breaths per minute, about 6 breaths per minute, or 5.5. And that's been known already.
John starts right away.
It gives you like basically 10-second breath cycles. So 5.5 seconds in, 5.5 seconds out.
And what is that optimizing for?
That's optimizing your heart rate variability. So back to what I was saying with like, you know, it's not a metronome. Your heart rate is not a metronome. This breathing technique actually increases the amplitude of the variability in your heart rate. So yeah. So if you can breathe at that rate, in our study, we did approximately 5 weeks of 20 minutes 2 times a day, working up to 20 minutes 2 times a day. I think we started the participants on like 10 to 15 and then gradually went up.
Do they like follow a timer?
Yeah. There's actually a device that you can get. We use the one from the HeartMath Institute. And it's like an ear clip where they can sense heart rate. And then you have an app or could be programmed on the computer to show you like your heart rate as you're breathing, and it gives you cues on when to breathe. And so for each individual, it can also, that average 6 breaths per minute, it can vary a little bit depending on like the volume or height or like gender, things like that. And so yeah, that's what it is. That's the intervention, is breathing at that rate consistently every day for about 5 weeks. And yeah, the finding is that it does help with emotion regulation. And so when when something comes up and say a stressor you're trying to regulate, you are actually better at like calming yourself down, or like just coming back to your own homeostasis after this kind of training. And I think, yeah, so that's at the high level what I can say right now. Yeah. But I think it's so cool. I actually have one of the devices. I nerded out and got one because I was like, hey, I feel like, got to get out on this. Like, there's already some evidence. Like, why don't I try it? And I do use it when I'm having like a particularly, like stressful time at work. Sometimes before meetings, I will do the breathing for about like 10 minutes or so. And there are definitely apps out there where you don't need a high-tech device, where it just like shows you this kind of average pace, and you can just try it. I've like, if you type into like App Store heart rate variability biofeedback, I'm sure there's like tons of free options out there that pretty much do it. So
HeartMath Monitor Institute, if you want to sponsor the podcast, can email us.
yeah. So Yeah, these are all kind of examples of things that I've gathered from some time in academic research, and I'm all about, yeah, we can be doing all of that research, but trying to disseminate it to, at least close ones and loved ones, or even broader. So, yeah.
Cool. I'm curious about the research that you did with aging. So gerontology is the study of aging. Okay,
Yeah.
good to know.
Mhm.
And I'm sure like broadly there were a lot of themes that make sense. Like probably good to wear sunblock, probably good to sleep 8 hours a night, probably good to exercise regularly, eat well, all that stuff. But from your time doing research, was there anything that you thought was like surprising and useful and just like not something that you expected?
Yeah. One of the first lessons I learned was actually in undergrad, where I took the psychology of aging course. And I think what's interesting is, okay, so I mean, things are shifting now, but generally when people think of aging, they think of decrement, right? They think there's decline in physical functioning, in cognition, you think about all the wear and tear that happens on the joints, and like, as you're alluding to, like the skin, like skincare, anti-aging skincare, like all of that. However, it's like there's overwhelming amounts of evidence that the psychological and social well-being, as you get older, it just increases like a lot. And so, yeah, I think that professor who taught the course on psychology of aging wanted us to get that takeaway, where it's like, yeah, of course there's age-related disease, age-related declines, but let's not forget that there are all of these gains that you get from aging and growing older, and they're really powerful, and they can be harnessed, so for example, one of the things is that we know is after around age 50, your subjective well-being just increases up until about age 80, and then there's like a slight decrease. But yeah, so we just generally get happier as we age. There's a lot of reasons for this. One of them also is that things in midlife tend to be tough. You might have more strain in midlife, more stress. There's could be a lot of reasons. But yeah, one of the main theories on why things get better as you age is that it's called socio-emotional selectivity theory.
That's a big word.
I know, yeah.
Can you
So
say
breaking
it
it down. Socio-emotional, it's just like the portmanteau, like the combo of social and emotional. Selectivity, so like being more selective theory. And so this theory posits that basically as you get older, and more accurately, as you see a time horizon coming closer to you, which means, as you see death coming closer to you, your goals and your motivation shifts such that you want to spend more time with people who kind of guarantee you a good time. So like, as a result of that, actually your social networks shrink. So your social circles shrink, but that doesn't mean it's bad. That doesn't mean it's necessarily like, oh, we're getting more lonely as we get older, just because it's like we keep up with fewer people. It's actually that the quality of the remaining relationships are better because you select them. And yeah, I just really like that, because it's like, oh, you kind of realize like time is precious, and then you want to spend it with the people who matter. And you invest more into those ties.
Hopefully that's something more people realize before they turn 50.
I know. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I hope so too.
I also suspect a part of it has to do with not caring
Yeah.
about things anymore. It's like on
Mhm.
the extreme ends of the spectrum, you have like babies
Yeah.
because they're like, I'm gonna pee right now. I'm like, I don't care. And then you have really old people that are like I'm gonna fart right now. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yep. I have seen that a lot at, at the places that I worked. Yeah, it's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm just gonna do what I want. Yeah, and there's also like kind of this like mellowing out effect, where people tend to pick their battles a little more, and like they tend to just deal with things in a way that's like it just uh evades conflict. So I think that's pretty cool. It's like you get like the whole stereotype of the lonely curmudgeonly old man or something like that, but it's like really no, the data is showing us that things just look kind of rosier as you get older. Another piece of that theory is that you actually have greater attention to and memory for positive things relative to negative things as you get older, which is also really cool because then it's literally like, oh, you know, you might have more like rose-colored glasses as you go through life or remember things. So yeah, that's another cool thing that I learned, and I always think about it because I'm just like, okay, well, how do I apply that to my life right now? Like remind myself that, you know, maybe a couple of decades from now, like things won't matter as much. So try and apply some of that to my life now.
I think
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Tell me more.
I ask when I'm making a hard decision, I ask myself, what would 70-year-old me wish he did?
Oh my God. I love that.
and then when something sucks, I'm not perfect at this, but usually I'll try to be like, okay, does John Kim in 5 years, like how much does he care about this? And like sometimes he cares a little, but most of the time it's like oh, forgot about it. Like, so yeah, I think that's important to keep in perspective, not to like glide over every problem. Like there's still hard problems to work on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I will say like I have hard days like anyone else, not above it all, but I try to keep it in perspective, and
yeah,
yeah, and then yeah, I think the other thing is like I want to, when I'm 30 years old right now, like I want to do the thing that looking back I'm just like, hell yeah, I did that when I'm 30.
Yes.
So
I love that.
yeah, living half of Hugh's potential is my goal. I don't yet have.
I'm the one that needs to visit you, man. I haven't made it out yet. It's so bad. I'm gonna be 70 and I'm gonna be like, why did I not visit John before he moved away from New York? I'm a bad friend. I'm going to. I swear. I'm gonna make this happen. I'm figuring this out.
Well, last time Hugh said he would picnic. we would have a Moon Tea podcast picnic.
I love
Central Park.
Yeah, I forgot.
Come back. Do it. Let's do it. I love picnics.
Yeah, we should totally.
Me too.
Come
I think
visit.
that'd be so fun. Yeah, we should totally do a Moon Tea picnic in Central Park. In the next 2 months. Let's make this happen, John. Really.
Cool. Sounds good. It's recorded on Diana's podcast, so
gotta follow through with it, Hugh.
I think this is a very good point. I do have a quick question though on the actual topic though of aging and elderly, and in America, something that I'm kind of curious regarding. I noticed that you're of a Chinese American background, which I also am of. I'm a mixed blood, and so I have a bit of this like cultural conflict sometimes. And as one who's like has kind of like Anglo-Saxon and Eastern cultural dynamics, as well as being born and raised in America, I'm kind of curious of what your perspective is, and or what you've found research-wise, possibly statistically wise, regarding how, let's just center it around American culture regarding how we treat, take care, perceive the family values of how we take care of our elderly and how we treat that situation versus other cultures?
Such a great question. Yeah, I think about this a lot also, even though I'm was born and raised here. I am very close with my grandparents and family in China. And I've gotten to witness, like, by traveling to Shanghai, where my extended family is, and, being here, and during some periods of my life, having the grandparents like in my household, like in a multi-generational household. I've thought about this a lot too. And I guess, man, I see that in the I guess I don't want to make like blanket statements here. So I guess
everyone research on your own, but take with a grain of salt what Diana's about to say.
Yeah.
All 50-year-olds get happier.
Yes.
Yes. You heard it here first.
It only gets better after it gets worse for us.
Midlife.
Yeah. I think everywhere, like all over the world, there are situations where older adults are isolated. And especially during COVID, like that has been very bad for like mental health and physical health, the isolation for everyone, not just older adults, right? But yeah, I think it is true that in Asian cultures, or in cultures that value family and have it be more of a norm to have multi-generational households, there is more like, there is more integration between the generations, and there's a lot of good that comes from that. I don't know. I think that's all I have to say about it.
The thing that I'm wondering, right, is kind of a lot of elderly, probably past 85, maybe, from what I've kind of read, if they don't have is this true, kind of is, there's a higher mortality rate in those that have less social connection and or attachment and or support from family or loved ones and or social cultures. Is that, have you seen that anywhere? Or like, because then that's the question that follows is, right, like the multi-generational household versus sending your elderly and loved ones to older people housing communities.
Actually, yes, I'm familiar with this like huge study that was done that a lot of people in social relations fields like to cite, which is, if you look at social relationship quality and quantity, having stronger social ties is a better predictor of lower mortality than even some of the typical like lifestyle risks, such as smoking, air pollution, like other like exercise, things like that. So things that common knowledge, we know, okay, smoking is bad for your health, exercising is good for your health, like those are strong to some extent. And then social relationships, the quality of them like beats all of that, or is equal to or beats the effects of all of those. So that's very valid. But so the takeaway then is it's the quality of the relationship. So in certain cultures, I'm sure there might be that might be like more culturally enforced, but it is up to a family, it is up to the individual to invest in the relationship to make it fulfilling for themselves and fulfilling for the other. And that goes for like older adults as well as across the lifespan. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. That's so interesting that you were making the statement of quantity of social relationship versus quality of social relationship. And then I wonder about that balance too, right? So with intergenerational households, there might be a high amount of quantity of time spent, but is that quality of communication and empathy and care and compassion deep and nuanced and healthy? Or it, like, because that's more Eastern, and then Western is more at the age of 18 or even your 20s or 30s, you move out, get your own place in the same state or not in the same state, and then your relationship becomes either phone calls, FaceTimes. And at what age is that okay to do until like someone gets to a certain path? You said after 85 it kind of possibly takes a bit of a downhill. Like when and what's that balance? I'm kind of, it's just an open-ended, curious question.
Yeah. I like thinking about that. I think it's important too. It's one of the reasons that I actually wanted to move to be closer to my parents in New Jersey too. And I wonder if you guys, both of you, like think about this much and have made any decisions like that. Because I don't know, I think like, yeah, we're probably all at the age where we're seeing signs of aging in our parents. And so I think, I don't know, Hugh, have you been thinking about this at all from that perspective?
Yeah. So truth be told, my dad's 93.
Okay.
And so my mom's about 20 years younger. And it's just been interesting. Yeah, there's been a lot of moments in my life where, when I'm in high school, dad has a stroke and you're a first responder and stuff like that. And transience and temporality and mortality come into play at an early age. Not that early, but yeah, it's always been interesting. And that's why I moved back from Airbnb in San Francisco, because dad was really sick like in 2017. Oh, wow. And so, I was living at home until this month, and so now, but I'm still in the state. So it's been interesting trying to navigate. I don't know how public this really is, but whatever. It's been interesting how to navigate. I don't think I can allow myself to move out of state or country at this point in my life.
Yeah.
I know that my mom and dad are doing an amazing job together. Mom does like physical therapy for dad daily, and and we're always, they're incredible. But then there also comes that point in time as a young adult where it's like, I've been struggling a lot personally recently, a lot too, regarding intergenerational dynamics, intergenerational expectations, intergenerational possible trauma, and possible communication issues, and then also love and compassion and all of that, and things that you feel like some people feel obligated or indebted, or you always give for the family, or what is it for the self? And there's that whole us, me, we, they, right? And it's been really difficult for me to kind of try to, it's interesting. It's really hard to know that any day could be the last, but also it could be 10 years that dad stays alive, and he's healthy and he's a great goober. He came on the podcast 2 times already,
Oh, okay.
But it's just, it is tough trying to find that personal space, a personal balance. What do I not feel guilty about as an American born mixed blood? And honestly, it's been really difficult to find that. But I'm 20 minutes drive away. So that's what I keep telling myself. And I had him over for dinner 2 nights ago and I made a steak, I grilled some stuff up. So like, it's close. Mom, literally last night I fell asleep on the couch and I heard her rapping at the window and I was like, am I being robbed? Oh my God. And then it happened again because my doorbell broke. I need to fix it. But I was just like, oh, it's mom. Oh, cool. And then she brought food with dad. They went out to dinner. So I'm right there, but I also do worry sometimes where it's like, I don't know if I'm going to be there as much, right? Like how does dad, who's got mom, myself, and my sister, and very few other friends because almost everyone else has passed, right? How do we, and that's something very important to me, is like since 2017, especially when I moved back, is like, how does one make sure that our elder generation is taken care of? They're not given off to cheap or expensive. There's very different ones of elderly care homes. They care or don't care. And then luckily dad has a mom who, marry young, no, I'm just kidding, but no, don't do that. I'm kidding. But so it's been interesting. All of that. That was a soliloquy.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. That's taking it in. I think it's very clear that you have been very intentional and thoughtful about the way that you can relate to and care for both your parents and just like be there as a strong presence in the midst of all the changes and like aging and ultimately dying process. And I'm sure that's noticed and like appreciated by your family. Yeah. Woo. Yeah. And I have to say, like, yeah, we can think about this all we want and like read all we want about the findings and all of that. But everything that I've learned through grad school, it's made me realize, like, when you yourself face aging and dying of your loved ones and like grieving, nothing can really prepare you, and you have to just like act in a way that's true to your heart and your family and like the individual ties. And yeah, I don't know, I feel like there's the research and then there's true experience, like the individual experience, and nothing can actually prepare you for it. But yeah, just gotta go through it.
Heavy subject, talking about death, like with family and all of that. But we did have a doctor, Ben, the Canadian doctor, and one thing he wanted to, I think he wanted more time to talk about it, but it was like the topic of death. And at what point do you just let it happen?
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's tough because it's even if you're the person dying, it's not just a you decision.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Hugh, whatever is going on in your head, think like, yeah, we're fully aware of what your values are, and it like, I wouldn't be so hard on yourself for like what you did or how you did it, because yeah, I mean,
Just finding balance in the end.
Yeah. I actually just recently felt like something minorly like parallel to, I guess, just like an example of the theme that you're getting at too. So over the 4th of July, just like 2 weeks ago, I was on a trip. I went to Iceland with a close college friend. It was wonderful. It was so fun. Did so much hiking and like really enjoyed it all. I came back, and the night I came back, I called my parents and they were like, by the way, we've had COVID. We got it like the day that you left, and we didn't want to tell you because we didn't want you to worry. And I was like, had all these mixed emotions of like, what? I was like sending you freaking like videos of sheep, like, and you were telling me that you were, coughing up some blood or like, having muscle aches and like, so I felt very guilty about that. But I'm like, oh, they also chose to not tell me. They like chose to, it was like their act of love that they didn't want me to worry. And then I got COVID. And so it was just like this whole thing where I was like, oh my God, like, yeah, I was feeling some of the, oh, I should have been there. Had I known, like, would I have just hung back and like just been around in case they needed something? Like, should I have checked in more with them and like DoorDashed them something? Or but yeah, I'm actually going to New Jersey to see them this weekend. And so it'll be one of those like kind of hopefully validating moments of like, now we are both, like, all three of us are healthy, and like the fact that I do live really close and that was a choice that I made, like maybe it'll help cancel some of that guilt out, just my presence being there, and like the fact that we can all three be together. I think just like presence means a lot, and it weighs a lot. So yeah.
I guess there's also not much you could have done,
Yeah.
like other than be like, oh, can I like send you some pizza? Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, totally. So do you feel like New York City is a long-term fit for you? Like, I guess helps to have family nearby, helps that there's a giant pharmaceutical industry in Jersey. Like, and like it's been a year now, and so maybe you've had enough time to get a feel for things. Like, how do you feel? And then also the last topic that you wrote about how I tried to build community. So if you could,
I'll tie that all together. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I have been like reflecting a lot because, you know, the anniversary of me moving here, I'm like, oh, do I feel at home now? Like, it's totally still a work in progress. I don't feel completely settled, but I'm getting there. When I moved, I kind of like chose my apartment and neighborhood based on two key things. The main one was proximity to green space. So I live right next to Prospect Park. I get to go like walking and running after work. And all the other basically was that, you know, my apartment has some natural light for my indoor plants, and like, so greenery everywhere. And yeah, it's an easy enough commute to my office. But yeah, I just know that like building strong friendships and like community around me will just take time. Like, I've been lucky that my friends in LA before I moved here, they like set me up on all these friend dates, and they were like, oh, I have this like one friend and like you would love her, like you guys should hang out. And so I have had like a lot of people that I've been lucky to like vibe with, and I've felt our friendships deepen, and Jackie included, you know, it's been really great. Like, I felt very lucky about that. But I also do feel like sometimes, oh, my friends don't all know each other. There's not as much cohesion. It's also still getting there, like, but it's not quite there yet. But regardless, I do feel like there's enough of life in New York that I have fallen in love with for me to stay here. So as far as I can tell, I'm going to be here. Like, I'm not trying to go somewhere else. What are you woohooing about? You're moving away soon, aren't you?
I know,
right? Yeah, but yeah, one of the things that I got to do recently was I through food, I like to build community. And so in LA, when I was there, my friend and I used to host these cookbook clubs. And so they're potlucks, and they would happen like every month. And he and I would basically choose one cookbook where all the guests would choose a recipe from that same cookbook and bring it. And so that in that one night, everyone would kind of get a taste of the whole book.
Oh, that's such a cool idea.
It was so cool. It was so cool. I can't take full credit for like coming up with it, but I'm definitely like, I'm a good enough like organizer of people that we got this going and just like consistently kept having it. You know, different friends would host at their different apartments, and like we had all these different themes. One time we even like went off course and had everyone bring a family recipe, which was really sweet. got everyone to talk about like memories and things like that. But I actually just hosted one with my friend Milena, who I knew in LA, and she and I met at one of these cookbook clubs. And now she's here, she's in law school, and like also was feeling like she wanted to build more of that community. And so we hosted it as a picnic like last week in Brooklyn Bridge Park, and it went really well. It was delicious. We used Molly Baz's cookbook. It's called Cook This Book. And
we'll put in the links below.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a huge success, and it was great for our friends to meet each other. And yeah,
beautiful park.
Yeah, it was really nice. Like, you know, waterfront, you see the skyline, very New York. So I'm hoping to have more of these, and I just know that like with time, through things like that, it can all just deepen and get better. So feeling hopeful.
All right, I'll be there.
Okay.
You will be there too.
Yes, that'll be our moon tea picnic. We'll also have a potluck.
This is yes.
Diana, we are reaching time, and we ask all our guests this, but do you have any words of wisdom and or parting thoughts to our many millions of listeners? Just kidding. 7 or 8 listeners.
Make it 9 with me starting soon. Yeah, I mean, I think parting thoughts, I guess, yeah, just tying it back to like the importance of high quality social relationships. It takes an investment on your part. And so, give to the ones you love, give effort, give time, give presence, and you will benefit from that, and everyone will. It's good for your mental health. It's good for your physical health and like lowered mortality risk. It's just good. And we need that these days. So yeah.
Do FaceTimes count and video chats count?
Yes, but hugs are even better.
I love that. Oh, my. Cool. Well, yeah. Diana, thank you so much for coming on to the Moon Tea podcast. This is a fantastic episode. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. This was a lovely experience. I'm so glad I got to meet you and spend more time with you, John. So yeah.
Awesome. And then the final thing is there anything you want to give a shout out to, or anything you'd want to wrap up? I don't know.
Bird Sanctuary.
Yeah, Wild Bird Fund. They do such good work. So such an interesting organization and a strong need. So yeah.
All right, people, check it out. Anywho, with that, we have come to the close of another episode of the Moon Tea podcast, where this is a podcast where we talk about craft, community, and building meaningful careers. Please tune in next time. Who knows when next time will be, but hopefully very soon. And please, if you ever have any cool other guests to recommend our way, it's becoming harder and harder to find us. So please reach out. Text us or email us at moonteapodcast@gmail.com. Please.
I might have some people for you guys, actually.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh my God.
Yeah, no, really.
John and I were just talking today. We're like, John's been killing it. I've run out of people. I need to find more community, but yes, amazing. Anywho, take it easy, everybody. Thank you again, Diana, and tune in next time. See ya.
Bye.
Peace.
Peace.